Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel, where real-life stories meet unexpected heroes. If you believe that good people still exist in this world, hit that like button and stay tuned until the very end, because today's story will remind you that courage can come from the most surprising places, and sometimes, it wears a leather jacket. It was late evening in a small town just outside of Denver. The sun had already disappeared behind the hills, and a cold wind had started to sweep across the streets. The local convenience store, one of those all-night spots that everyone in the neighborhood knew, was about to close. Inside, 19-year-old Katie Miller was finishing her last shift before heading home. She had been working there for only 3 months, saving money for college. Katie wasn't afraid of hard work. She'd grown up helping her mom at a small bakery, so she knew what it meant to stay late and serve people with a smile, even when she was exhausted. But tonight felt different. Something in the air made her uneasy. Maybe it was the flickering streetlight outside, or the way the parking lot looked empty and too quiet. Still, she brushed it off and went back to cleaning the counter. The sound of heavy boots echoed through the store. Katie looked up and saw 3 men entering, rough-looking, with tattoos and leather jackets. They weren't the usual customers. She forced a polite smile and greeted them. "Sorry, we're closing soon." One of the men grinned and said, "That's all right, sweetheart. We just need a few things." His tone was off, too casual, too confident. The other 2 spread out through the aisles, not really looking for anything. Katie's heart started to beat faster. She tried to stay calm, hoping they'd grab a drink or snack and leave. What she didn't notice was that, at the back of the store, a group of 5 bikers was still sitting in the small diner area. They had finished a long ride across the state and stopped for coffee before heading out. They were members of a local motorcycle club, not outlaws, but hardworking people who loved to ride together. Their leader, a man everyone called Bear, was a former Marine. He and his crew were known for helping out in the community, fixing broken fences, organizing charity rides, and sometimes even standing up when others couldn't. Bear looked up from his cup as soon as he heard the front door chime. He didn't like the way the new customers walked in. He could read people like open books, and these men weren't there to shop. Katie rang up a bottle of soda and a bag of chips, trying to look busy. But the first man leaned across the counter, too close for comfort. "You look nervous," he said, smirking. "You don't need to be. We're just having a little fun." She stepped back slightly, clutching her phone behind the register. "Please, it's closing time. I need to lock up." The second man came closer, pretending to browse the candy rack, blocking the exit behind her. The third started whistling, pacing slowly toward the back of the store. Bear's instincts kicked in. He motioned quietly to his brothers. "Something's wrong," he murmured. The bikers exchanged quick looks. They weren't the type to start trouble, but they sure as hell wouldn't ignore it. Meanwhile, Katie was trembling. The man at the counter reached out and flicked the name tag on her shirt. "Katie," he said, dragging out her name. "Pretty name. You live around here." She tried to stay firm. "Sir, please leave. I'm calling the manager." That made him laugh. "You think your manager's gonna save you?" Bear stood up, his chair scraping the floor. The sound was loud, commanding. The thugs turned around, surprised. One of them sneered, "What's this? You bringing your boyfriends into work?" "Sweetheart." Bear didn't say anything at first. He just walked forward slowly, his heavy boots thudding on the tile. Behind him, his brothers followed, a silent, intimidating wall of muscle and leather. Bear stopped a few feet away from the counter. "Evening," he said calmly. "Store's closed. Time to leave." The lead thug smirked. "Who the hell are you?" "The night watch." Bear's tone didn't change. "I'm someone telling you to get out, before you make a mistake you can't take back." The silence that followed was heavy. Katie could barely breathe. One of the bikers, a tall man with a gray beard, stepped closer to her and said softly, "You all right, miss?" She nodded weakly, tears forming in her eyes. The first thug laughed nervously. Relax, old man. We were just talking. No harm done. But Bear saw the flicker of aggression in his eyes. The guy wasn't sorry. He was planning something. Sure enough, as Bear turned slightly, the thug tried to shove him. It was a stupid move. Bear didn't even flinch. He grabbed the man's wrist, twisted it effortlessly, and pushed him back against the counter. The thug cried out in pain as Bear leaned close and said, "You don't touch people who are just trying to do their job. You don't scare girls for fun. You got that?" The others took a step forward, but the rest of the bikers were already in position. They didn't draw weapons. They didn't need to. Their presence alone was enough. The men hesitated, suddenly realizing they were outnumbered and outmatched. "Out," Bear said again. "Now." The thugs backed away slowly. One of them muttered, "This isn't over." Bear replied, "Oh, it's over. You just don't know it yet. Because the next time you pull something like this, someone won't stop at talking." They left, slamming the door behind them. The sound of their car peeling out of the parking lot faded into the night. Katie was shaking. Bear turned to her and softened his tone. "You okay, kid?" She nodded, wiping her tears. "Thank you. I didn't know what to do." Bear gave a small smile. "You did fine. You kept your cool. That's not easy." She tried to laugh, still trembling. "I thought I was alone." Bear looked at his crew. "You're never alone in this town, not when we're around." One of the bikers, Sam, walked to the counter and started helping her clean up the things that had fallen. Another went outside to make sure the thugs were really gone. They stayed until she locked the doors and checked the back room. Before leaving, Bear handed her a small card, the logo of their motorcycle club printed in black and red. "If you ever feel unsafe again, you call that number," he said. "Day or night, doesn't matter what time." She took it, speechless. As they walked out, she called after them, "Thank you." Bear turned and nodded once. "Take care, Katie." Then the bikers mounted their motorcycles, engines rumbling like thunder, and rode off into the night. The next morning, the incident was the talk of the town. People couldn't believe what had happened. The store's security cameras had captured the entire thing. The moment the bikers stepped in, the way they stood between Katie and the thugs, and the quiet, disciplined way they handled it. It wasn't chaos. It was control, calm, deliberate protection. When the police arrived later to take Katie's statement, they told her the men had been caught not far from the highway. Turns out, they were wanted for other harassment incidents in nearby towns. Katie's courage, and the bikers' timely intervention, had helped stop them before they hurt someone else. That night, Katie sat at home with her mom, watching the news replay the story. Her mom squeezed her hand and said, "There are still good people out there, honey." Katie smiled. "Yeah, there really are." Meanwhile, at a small biker clubhouse outside town, Bear and his crew were sitting around a table, sipping coffee. Sam laughed. "You think that girl's ever gonna forget us?" Bear chuckled. "I hope she doesn't have to remember us for the same reason again." Another biker said, "You know, people think we're troublemakers. But sometimes, trouble's exactly what they need, on their side." Bear nodded slowly. "We don't ride to scare people. We ride to remind them that not everyone turns their back when things get ugly." The others raised their mugs in agreement. Outside, their bikes gleamed under the moonlight, symbols not of rebellion, but of silent guardianship. Weeks passed, and life went back to normal for Katie. She returned to work, a little stronger, a little wiser. Every now and then, she'd see the bikers pass by the store, their engines roaring, their presence unmistakable. And each time, she'd feel a sense of safety she couldn't quite explain. She even started keeping a small sticker on the counter, the same logo that was on Bear's card. When customers asked about it, she'd just smile and say, "It's a reminder that sometimes the people you least expect can be your heroes." One evening, about a month later, Bear stopped by the store again. He was on his bike, helmet under his arm. Katie was working the register. She looked up, surprised, and smiled. "Hey, long time no see." Bear grinned. "Just checking in. How's business?" "Good," she said. "And quieter, thankfully." He nodded. "That's how it should be." As he turned to leave, she called out, "Hey, Bear, why did you help me that night? You didn't even know me." He paused at the door and said, "You don't need to know someone to do what's right." Then he put his helmet back on and walked out into the sunset, his motorcycle rumbling to life. Katie watched him go, a smile spreading across her face. That night, she wrote something in her journal, a memory she never wanted to forget. She wrote, "Sometimes, angels don't have wings. Sometimes, they ride Harleys." The video ends with the sound of motorcycles fading into the distance, leaving behind the echo of kindness and the quiet assurance that in a world full of fear, there are still protectors, ordinary people who choose to stand up for what's right, even when no one is watching. So if you ever find yourself in a dark place, wondering if anyone would stand up for you, remember this story. Because courage doesn't always wear a badge or a uniform. Sometimes, it wears black leather and rides beneath the stars. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, make sure to subscribe, like, and share it with someone who could use a reminder that good people still exist. Until next time, stay kind, stay brave, and never underestimate the power of doing what's right.